I am going to be here in a corner on the floor for a while.
And then they fuck in the storage shed.
Here you go, you dirty
Hmm.
bitch. Enjoy.
Would he have done that for a man? Just saying.
That's depressing. Everyone
It
pour one
is.
out for Ariel. As a heads up to everybody, I'm not in a hostage situation. I am just moving and I don't have any furniture.
Nor does she know where any of her equipment is.
My mic is at the new house and that's it. So,
Is this your normal camera? It just looks
yeah,
different.
it's
Oh,
because I'm in a different area. I'm not right in front of the window.
gotcha.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
So I just very much look like I'm in a
It
hostage
hits different.
situation. It does. It hits different when all of your stuff is gone.
Yeah.
Actually, most of my stuff is sitting in the living room, and that 80% of it's at the new house. Just none of my furniture. All of my furniture is here, but like away.
Away, away.
So this is a wild time, but we're here, and that just goes to show you that we're
Dedication.
committed.
Hmm.
Actually, no, this
Dedication.
this is the we put this off and we could not put it off any further.
Yeah, unfortunately, we were not dedicated, so now we procrastinated a little too close to the sun, and
Oh.
here we are.
What happened partially is I took a week off and I went on vacation. And
Everything goes to shit when Crystal goes on vacation.
so apparently I'm not allowed to do that anymore.
No, not unless you just take us with you.
Yeah, well, I couldn't speak last week, okay? I
Hmm.
had no voice.
No vacations unless we're together.
I know, right? There, see?
Yeah. That's why I said when the kids graduate in 4 years, we're gonna have to do like a whole tour. Like I'll come to you first and then we'll all travel together and like it'll be a whole tour.
Be like a world tour, but not really a world tour.
But just a world tour of graduations.
Yeah, 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 yeah. So yes, I am going to be here in a corner on the floor for a while.
No one puts baby in the corner.
Well, I put myself in the corner. Anyways, welcome.
Yes. Let me pull up my Kindle because we have a trigger warning, I believe, this week.
Cool. Oh, I do have a computer that I can utilize to actually do my job today. So
Fabulous.
that's always good.
Okay, content warning.
Do you want to say what we read first?
Sure.
Usually you do that and then you do the content warning, so I just wanted to make
Yeah.
sure. Or not, I'll shut up.
I no, yeah. As Crystal pointed out, we probably should let you know what we're reading. And this time around, we read Mountain Boss by S.J. Tilley because we just wanted to get ready for our specials of Take Me to the Mountains, or the wheel wanted us to, one or the other.
The wheel
But
said, "Here you
this,
go, ladies.
yeah,
Enjoy."
here's here's a trial. But this book did have a content warning, if you want to call it that. The entire content warning is this book contains mature themes, violence, and a touch of stalking. Do I think all of that necessarily applies? Not completely. But I appreciate a content warning. Yeah. This book is dedicated to the bears and to fictional men in flannel. So we're happy about that. But yeah, so we apparently are hanging out in the mountains for the foreseeable future.
It's kind of like Ariel already hangs out in the mountains on like a daily basis because she
I
lives
do. I
there.
live in the mountains. I don't think I've ever seen men like this here.
Fair enough.
If I did, it might be a different world, a whole new world. Mine are just, instead of like men in flannel with axes, mine are just rednecks with beard. Yeah.
That's depressing. Everyone
It
pour one
is.
out for Ariel.
Yeah. Sad face. Anywho, I just want to start out with the fact that this book starts with its first two words being my tits. And I just wanted to share that.
I got to see Ariel's tits today too. Sorry.
It's always a good day. No. Side note, I explained I had to explain the Drake Snake video to a couple women today. And then I told them about the videos you found recently.
Oh my God. First of all, I the Drake Snake video has is
They
awful.
had never heard of it.
Oh man, the internet
I
was a
was
wild time when
shocked.
that happened. And then the other
Right.
videos that I found, honestly, I think TikTok was just like, here you go, you dirty
Mm-hmm.
bitch, enjoy. And I was like,
Yeah. Mm.
okay, sounds
She's
great.
enjoying. Yeah.
I enjoyed those way better.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
I don't care about Drake Snake, but okay.
Oh, well, moving on.
Anyways,
We start our story with our FMC Courtney. She's in a vehicle. She's headed to Colorado to start a new job. She's excited for a new adventure, to start a new chapter in her life.
is this story about me? I'm just kidding.
Yes, 2025 wheel does bring us quite a bit of,
It's been really relatable lately.
yes, relatable situations. Thank you. I worked all day. I don't know where any of that was going.
Bitch, I have been packing. I didn't realize how much shit I have until I packed. I want to die.
Yeah, I wish. Yeah, it's all just manual labor this week because we're just moving, boxing up, packing, and moving
And I
classrooms.
can't even let anyone else pack for me because I'm such a control freak that no.
Yeah.
Anyways, sorry.
This is why mine was all done before school got out.
Yeah.
But I digress. Anyway, um, so after gazing at the gorgeous mountains surrounding her, she finally takes her turn at the sign for Black Mountain Lodge. The sound of music. Courtney gets out of her car and sees somebody come out of the house. A very handsome, ruggedly, basically shirt half open, straight from the shower, somebody. She introduces herself, and Sterling, the man, is like, no, absolutely not. Bye, Felicia.
Bye.
Apparently, her application said court, not Courtney. And he was expecting a man, not this gorgeous woman. Courtney just gave up a lot for this job, and it's basically like a last chance, and she doesn't have a lot of fallback. So she's very confused and starting to panic a little because she was told she got the job. This is also very relatable because I was sent home early this week because I was told I was working specific hours. And then when I got my pay stub, they were not those hours. So when I called, they were like, well, fuck you, bitch, basically. Anyway, that's a story for another time.
Ariel's a little today.
Yeah.
It's okay.
Oh, they tried to pay my kid for his first week of work.
Yeah, how well did that
They
go?
moved the decimal, they moved the decimal. They tried to pay him 260 hours this week for his first week of work.
Well, someone's getting fired.
Luckily, I called and was like, yo, you might want to fix that.
That's
No,
crazy.
thank you. Let's fix both of your stuff. No, you get the shaft and you get to work less. Anyway, she asks if it was filled by somebody else. Could there be a different position open? Sterling, also known as Mr. Black, says he just can't have her there. There's only one cabin for all the employees to sleep in. She says that's fine. He says no. But she still doesn't understand and asks why. So he changes his tactic and asks if she can fix a well pump. And she says that if he has internet, she can, mostly lying, figuring that, she can figure that out. He says that it doesn't matter anyway. He can't have her here. He can't hire a woman.
Hmm.
Bro. She's grasping at straws and blurts out that it's illegal to fire someone for their gender. And he asks if she's threatening him. She says no, she's just stating facts, and that she's qualified and a hard worker, and she already signed her paperwork. She was technically hired by the person she's replacing, and Sterling is already thinking about how he's going to be having a conversation with that person. And he finally grinds out that she can stay, but in his head, he's thinking about how he needs to figure out how to make her quit. Instead of going to the bunkhouse where the rest of his employees reside, he brings her to one of the little cabins, which has laundry cabin written on the front of it, and says she's going to be staying there, and tells her work starts at 7 the next morning. Courtney's excited to see her little setup. She has her own toilet and counter space and a sink so she can set up a little mini kitchen area. They have a communal kitchen cabin and communal bathrooms, so she's pleasantly surprised to have this in her space. When she gets back and sees the bunk, however, she's not pleased to see that it is missing its mattress.
I'd be so
Sh-
pissed.
Hmm.
Much like
She
much like my room right now is missing a mattress.
so relatable. See, we are just so relatable.
I'm moving into a new space to start over.
She thinks he did it on purpose.
Well, I mean,
She's not
if it
happy.
quacks like a duck and walks like a duck, it's a duck.
There's no way she's quitting, though, no matter how hard he tries to make her.
Well, I
The
mean,
next morning, Courtney meets Mr. Black in the driveway, where he hands her a clipboard with a very, very long, multi-page maintenance to-do list and tells her that before starting on working on the list each day, number one daily job will be to make coffee in the food hall. Sterling decides he can either be distracted by her or be an asshole to her. There's no in between. So he's choosing to be an asshole and is quite short and grumpy as he shows her to the food hall. Once she makes it inside, he just disappears. So that was nice of him. Since he is Mr. Incommunicado, he actually hasn't given her any information, nor does he realize that she doesn't know anything. I think just in his mind, he assumed the person who hired her initially, the old maintenance guy, gave her all the information that she needed, or the other workers that lived there, or he's just a fucking idiot. And whatever works, but she doesn't have the information, and he's just being a dick. So she's not asking him for it. But the communal food house is for his employees that work there, including now her. But she's trying to live off random odds and ends that she had in her car until she gets paid. And she doesn't even know when that is that she gets paid. She knows that her first priorities are going to be getting a mattress because she thinks, he's being a dick. So that's great. But she's working through her clipboard the best she can. And Mr. Dick didn't even tell her where any of the maintenance tools are or anything. So she's just using her own toolbox from her car, which is hardly ideal. It's all just whatever fit in there. It's getting the job done, but it's not making it any easier on a freaking mountain ranch when regular, bigger tools would be better. Courtney doesn't even know what time she's supposed to stop working. So she just keeps working all day until she's grimy and exhausted and spent and it's dark. And she's just, what the fuck? She looks on her list, though, and finds that a faucet needs to be fixed in the women's bathroom. So she decides that's going to be her last task of the day. And she'll even shower while she's in there. Thank goodness. The next day, Sterling does seek Courtney out to let her know about lunch being served in the hall every day because the idiot realized when he went to lunch the day before and she was not there and none of the guys had even met her yet, that he realized he was an idiot. Yeah, buddy.
well, a man admitting he's an idiot, that is a very, very rare sight to be held.
I mean, inside his head, but is that really enough? I don't know.
I mean, it's never enough, let's be honest. All men are stupid. Just kidding.
I
Sorry.
mean, and he only admitted he was an idiot about that thing, but Anywho, this time, Courtney goes to lunch in the food hall. When she walks in, Sterling sees her and introduces her to the men as Court, because he wants that fine line, and tells them she is replacing the old maintenance person and will be staying in the laundry cabin. She has lunch with them, and after some of them disperse, including Mr. Black, one of the younger ones offers to show her to the storage shed because he was surprised she hadn't been there yet and didn't know where it was. Yeah, buddy. Yeah. She gratefully takes him up on it, and on their way, she asks him a couple questions. He also tells her that she must work really hard because the old guy barely got anything crossed off the list on the clipboard. And she's already done several of those things in one day. She asks him when they get paid, like when actual payday is, because, she knows she needs to buy that mattress. And he tells her it's at the end of the month, every month at the end of the month. And it's literally like the second of the month. And she's like,
Shit.
fuck. And she just sinks and takes off back for her place. But she sees Sterling on the trail and she just rushes past him with tears in her eyes, trying to hide from him. He did see her and was confused by it and catches up to the other employee that she was with and asks what they were talking about. The guy's confused because nothing much. He just kind of relays the conversation, and it makes Sterling wonder if waiting for payday is a problem. But that should have been in her contract. He's like,
Sir.
yeah. The next day, he adds to her list a Costco trip and gives her a grocery list and a card and says to fill up her gas tank with the card as well. She's stoked about that, and it will allow her to poke around a little, price things out while she's gone. Sterling gets a little snoopy while she's gone. He wants to learn a little bit about her and figure out what the heck's
Wouldn't
going
you
on.
think to like, if you want to know about somebody, I don't know, ask.
No, not him. So he goes to check out the laundry cabin,
Of course he does.
the only building on the property that doesn't lock.
What a
And then he
coincidence.
feels like a jerk about that.
Good.
But then he sees her bed, or rather, lack of, just the wooden slat. And he's pissed. He didn't know that there wasn't a mattress in there anymore. And he's frustrated. She didn't say anything to him, but he doesn't blame her because he realizes the way he's been acting, she must think he did it on purpose, which she does. But he's so frustrated and upset. He goes to one of the unused cabins to grab a mattress, but he realizes he can't put that one in there. It would make it obvious he's been snooping.
Ugh.
So he lays down on it to like contemplate and realizes that these mattresses aren't that great. Not good enough to put in there. And so then he just like makes this call immediately to order brand new mattresses. Well, first he was going to order her one, but then he can't just order her one. So he orders a new mattress for the entire lodge, like every single bunk. Buddy. But he has to wait for them to come in. So in the meantime, he does bring the one from the other cabin into her cabin where, you know, she can use it. But now he's worried that she's going to assume that the whole thing was some kind of big test. And sure enough, that's exactly what Courtney thinks when she gets back and sees it. But then
I
she
would too,
realizes,
though. Like,
yeah, but then she realizes that the clothes she had been sleeping on top of to cover the plywood are gone. And when she finds them, they've all been folded, well, cleaned and folded and put away. And the clothes she had in the dryer, all folded and put away too. He folded all her clothes and put them
okay.
away.
I mean, that's kind of nice, but
She,
it feels so like, oh no, I did a bad and now I need to make up for everything that I just did. Sorry.
yeah, doesn't erase shit. Yeah.
No.
She doesn't know what to think of all that, but she's very happy to sleep on a mattress for the evening.
It'll be really nice for me to sleep on a mattress, hopefully tonight.
It better. You better. We're going to make it work.
I got this.
They both manage to avoid each other for a couple days, but Sterling breaks that when he sees Courtney at the top of a ladder. And he worries over the possibility of her falling, which would he have done that for a man? Just saying.
Probably not.
But he goes behind her to secure her on the ladder, and she can feel him aroused against her, which she's like, what the fuck? Which really, like, what the fuck?
Sir.
And he catches her face, in that moment, and then just says, go to lunch and walks away. Courtney does go to lunch, but her mind is spinning. And now she can't get all that out of her head. Now she's thinking about her boss as a man now and all that comes with it. And now he has man parts. And it's does she like that? And oh my God,
The spiral.
super spiral. After their meal, Sterling announces to the crew that they will have a delivery the next day, and he needs all hands to help with it. And then Courtney asks him if they could talk for a moment. And he just says, no, and walks away.
I mean, yeah. Well, you know.
When she gets back to her clipboard that she had left out on the table, the list is rewritten to have all the tasks that require ladders gone. The next day, the delivery truck shows up, and Courtney is the first to see it. The delivery driver is nice and attractive, and he's kind of flirty with her as he's asking her where he should put the mattresses. She's really confused, but then Sterling comes up and tells her to go get the rest of the guys and then tells her not to flirt with other men. Dude,
You do not, I would be like, I will flirt with whoever the fuck I want, bitch.
right? Courtney goes to get the other workers and brings them back to the truck. Sterling tells them all to grab a new mattress and start with their own bed. Bring it to their own bunks, returning with the old mattresses. One of the boys start trying to ask questions, and he just says, no questions. Sterling stops Courtney from grabbing one, saying hers is already done. Courtney spends the rest of the day getting the cabins prepared for guests that are arriving the next day, and she ends the evening late with a hot shower. She had left her phone charging in her bunk, so as she leaves the bathroom shower cabin, she wishes she had brought it with her for the flashlight because it's dark. And then she wishes even more so when she hears a noise and sees a bear close to her. She stumbles back on the stairs, trying not to let the scream fully out. She realizes that it's like a mama bear and it's just being territorial. But the mama bear just kind of stands up and kind of looks at her and then walks back in the woods. Courtney's really afraid of bears. It doesn't help that when Sterling was being an asshole to her when she first arrived, he kind of teased her about the bears there and how there's a lock on her door or whatever. But yeah, asshole. But Sterling is then there yelling her name with a flashlight coming across the driveway. Apparently, he heard her little like yelp scream. She tells him about the bear that had now run off into the woods, and he grabs one of her wet braids and goes to say something when they're interrupted by one of the other men who must have heard her scream as well. Sterling tells Courtney to go to bed as he explains to the other guy that she had a run in with a bear. With guests come changed responsibilities, and not necessarily changed because she still works on her list when she can, but now she's also in charge of cleaning the cabins and making sure that they're ready each day for guests. The group of men that come this time are off on a 3-day hiking or whatever excursion. It depends on what they're there for, whether they're there for like fishing or some kind of mountain something. Depends on the group of guests. But a bunch of the men are like guides and depends on who's going with them and all that. This time, Sterling goes with them, and when they get back, after they all shower and change, they all pile into the food cabin for lunch, and Sterling pops right down next to Courtney, spreading himself out so that he's flush against her, and he just kind of keeps getting closer and closer until he like puts his napkin on his lap and then lowers his hand under the table and puts it on her leg. Like, sir. And Courtney's like not breathing. Like, what is going on? Until Cook, who coincidentally is the cook, not very original, but yeah, it's Cook, drops a pot and looks pointedly at Sterling and makes them both jump. Guess Sterling wasn't quite being as sneaky as he thought. But neither of them pull away. So Sterling thinks it's a win. Cook asks Courtney to help him make some pies for the bonfire later. I guess they usually have a fire on the last night that they have guests, or the night after guests leave, rather, later at the pot fire. Just depends on the group of guests, but typically after they leave. They're all enjoying themselves and drinking beer. And someone asks Courtney if she wants another one, and she says no, thank you. And they call her out for being so formal all the time. And she says she's not. She cleans toilets for a living. And they say she's always, no, thank you. Yes, sir. And Mr. Black. And she points out that he never gave her another name. They all call him Sterling. She calls him Mr. Black because he never told her his name. They told her his name, but he didn't. So she hasn't called him that. Sterling says that she never asked. And she makes a comment how it must be part of the new employee hazing. And one of the guys says that there's no hazing at the lodge. And Sterling can see her brain turning about the whole mattress situation that she must assume. And instead, she just goes with, guess those new mattresses made up for it then, instead of like calling him out.
Yeah.
But Sterling is the only one who gets it. She stands up to head to bed as they whine about her leaving, but she just says she'll see everyone in the morning and hopefully Big Joe will be sweet to her then. And Sterling's like, what the fuck? Who's Big Joe? Jesus fuck.
I
That
just,
maybe she missed the rule about no sleepovers. Courtney just rolls her eyes and says that Big Joe is the coffee maker. Duh. She says goodnight and heads off. It's not long before Sterling catches up with her on the walk back, and he tells her he can't resist her anymore and that she has until the count of three to get out of his reach if she doesn't want it to. And he starts the count, and something about him counting, once he starts to say two, she goes to run, but he grabs her and pushes her up against the laundry cabin wall and tells her that he's not taking her inside because if he does, he'll fuck her. But he is going to make her come. He sticks his hands down the front of her pants and fingers her. I do find it funny that she moans his real name and then he tells her to call him Mr. Black. He grinds on the back of her until he finds his own release as well in his pants.
sorry.
You know, he brings her around to the front of her cabin and wishes her good night, and then confesses to her that he didn't know that there wasn't a mattress in there and that it was an oversight and it never should have happened. That he is an asshole, but he would have never made her sleep like that. But he's sorry. He understands why she didn't say anything, but he is sorry and he sends her to bed. In the morning, Courtney wakes up with regrets. No matter how good that felt, he is still her boss, and that was not a good idea. She vows to make better decisions. Yeah, we all know how that's going to work.
Right.
Meanwhile, Sterling is full steam ahead, and he tinkers with his hot tub to put it on her clipboard as something that needs to be fixed purposefully.
Ugh.
In between preparing the cabins for the next round of guests, Courtney decides to fix the hot tub while Sterling is out with the guys in town at a bar. She was invited, but she declined. You know, she didn't want to spend money, blah, blah, blah. But the guys told her when she was asking where the hot tub was, because it's on her list, because she didn't even know they had one, that it's on Sterling's back porch and that they can use it as long as they clean up after themselves. So she fixed it and was using it because she was the only one there. Well, she was until Sterling came home early and found her getting out of said hot tub in her underwear. He goes right to her and kisses her, and then he gets down on his knees and goes down on her. When he's done, she gets down on hers and returns the favor. He gets the towel and starts to dry her off and clean her up just as tires come down the driveway, breaking the spell. They try to get her clothes back on her so that they can get her back to her cabin without the guys seeing her. They kiss and say goodnight, and she heads off to her cabin. When she gets there, her cabin is freezing, and she checks the thermostat and realizes the heat should be on, but that's not good. That means it's not working. She opens up the heater, checks it out, and finds that some of the wires have been chewed, probably by some small creature that had gotten in between the last winter and now. And she goes back and forth in her head if she should tell Sterling or not because it's building on his property, but he also wouldn't have to fix the heat if she wasn't staying there. It's a whole cycle in her head. She bundles up and heads to bed. And going to bed with wet hair probably wasn't the best idea either because she wakes up freezing with her throat raw and not feeling good. Sterling finds her during the day preparing cabins, but she's moving slow and coughing and not doing well. And when he sees her, she's pale. He's obviously worried and tells her to go back to bed because she's obviously not feeling well, but she says she can't afford to skip a day. He tells her it's not going to affect her pay, go to bed. She Never makes it for lunch later. She must still be sleeping, so Sterling goes to drop by with a can of soup for her and realizes how freaking cold it is in her cabin. And he tries to mess with the heat, but it's not working. And he's basically like, what the fuck? He wakes her up a little bit because even though she's half sleeping, she's shivering. And he tells her she needs to keep the heat on, to keep it working. He just assumes it's kind of wonky and it takes a while. But she's half asleep and says that it doesn't work. And she's just mumbling random stuff. Well, not random, but like bits and pieces. And he's trying to catch it,
Hmm.
like how the cords are chewed up and how it's too expensive and she can't afford one. And he tries to find her some medicine to give her, but she doesn't have anything. In fact, her cupboards are basically bare. She's got peanut butter and ramen and oatmeal, and that's it. And he's like, what the fuck has she been eating? They all do lunch together, but what the fuck in between?
Right?
He tries to get her to drink some water and curls up beside her to try to get her to warm up. And Courtney drifts in and out. She kind of remembers waking up to drink things and take medicine of some sort, but she just drifts. When she wakes up enough, she wakes up to a warm room and finds a space heater and goes out to the main area and finds she now has a mini fridge stocked with deli meat and cheeses and juices and jelly. She's got a microwave, and next to her kettle is a whole bunch of medicine, and there's microwave dishes and crackers and bread and fruit cups and stuff. And she's like, mother fuck. She tries to go find him, but she can't get the door open because the door now has a lock on it. Took her a minute. Her clipboard is out on her front stoop, and there's a page over the front of it saying that the cabins are ready, the guests are arriving, and dinner is at 5 if she's awake by then. She should rest until then, and he gives her the code to the lock. At dinner, she tells Sterling that they need to talk. So after they eat, he walks her back to her cabin, knowing what she's going to say. He simply tells her no, he will not take any of it back. She just needs to deal with it. She doesn't ask for anything, and she deserves to have heat where she's living. It's not a big deal. Go rest for the evening, sleep in the morning. He doesn't want to hear an argument about it, and he doesn't budge until she tells him she understands. She makes sure he knows she doesn't agree, but that she understands what he's saying. The next day, he has on her list to clean the bathrooms while he oversees the new heat being installed in her cabin. He avoids seeing her until he has to head out with his new group so she can rest and not argue about the stuff he put in her cabin. But on the first day he's gone, Courtney gets a call from a random unknown number. It's Sterling. He says one of the guys forgot the cooking oil, even though she hears that guy in the background swearing that he packed it. Sterling asks her to bring it to them and her overnight bag because since by the time she'll get there, it'll be dark, he doesn't want her driving in the dark. When she gets there, Sterling greets her in private with a kiss and confesses that he took the oil out and not to rat him out. He navigates her to the one cabin and to the rest of the guys. They do a fresh fish fry with her and show her the cabin. It's all bunk beds partitioned with curtains. Her and Sterling are going to share a bunk bed. And when the rest of the boys go to sleep, they actually do share one bed on it. Sterling hops up to her bunk to snuggle with her a little until the wee hours of the morning, where she tickles him awake to get out of her bed so the others don't see. It's not long after they get back from the trip before Sterling is sneaking into Courtney's cabin in the middle of the night because that hunting trip, laying with her, was the last straw. He needs to have her. And when they see each other, they kiss and just go at it, fucking like rabbits, basically not being able to hold off any longer. And when they're done, they sit and they talk. Courtney explains a little bit more about her backstory, how she grew up living in an RV with her mom, and how her mom's kind of shit and all that jazz. How her last job she had been at for the last 8 years had included her apartment as part of the pay. And she did maintenance for the building, but the building was sold and she lost her job and her apartment all in one go. So she took this job when it was offered. They talk about their families and their birthdays, and she realizes that they recently missed Sterling's birthday, but nobody really knows. They do talk about pets they either had or didn't have, and all kinds of favorites, just chatting until they fall asleep. The next day is the last of one of the groups to be there, so they all hang out for a meal and drink a bit. But Courtney turns in early, and Sterling had been waiting for her to turn in so he can find an excuse to go. Except one of the men from the group seems to get up and follow her. So he definitely follows the man who follows
I
Courtney.
would too.
Yeah. The man follows Courtney all the way to her cabin and grabs her door as it's closing shut behind her. Courtney doesn't even like realize,
Hell
but
fucking no. Sorry.
Sterling grabs him before he can get inside. And like I said, Courtney doesn't even know any of this is happening on her doorstep. Sterling twists the man's ankle hard and puts him flat on his back and then slams his fist into the guy's chest. And he keeps punching the man and crushes his hand and basically just beats the fucking ever living shit out of this guy until a couple of his workers come up and interrupt them, asking what's going on. The creep wheezing out for help. But his employees see where they are and then they look at the guy and look at Courtney's door and they put two and two together. And Sterling nods and says the guy was going to, but that Courtney doesn't know. And the employees each get a couple kicks in of their own. Sterling goes to get rope and they tie the man up, load him into a truck, and Sterling tells one of his guys to bring him to the inn. I'm pretty sure that's the name of the bar that they had to go to earlier because Sterling calls up the guy who owns the bar and tells him he has trash for his dumpster. So that's cute. And then I learned that actually it's a bar and inn combo, but that doesn't really matter, I guess. They pull up and get the guy out, take his phone, wipe it, tell the guy to call himself an ambulance after they drop him into the dumpster. When Sterling makes it back, he heads to Courtney's after washing up, even though it's late and she's fallen asleep. But he climbs into bed with her because he just needs to be near her. In the morning, he wakes her up by fucking her from behind. Courtney decides to work with Cook to make lunch special because they did have Sterling's birthday pass after all. So Cook makes his favorite food and she makes a cake, and that's what they have for lunch. They don't say anything to the crowd because she's trying to be discreet for him, but he knows. And then she sees his hands beat up and tries to ask him about it, or rather demands answers about it. And then everyone makes fun of her for having the audacity to question and raise her voice at the boss, especially when she's always been Mr. Black. And Sterling has to go have a conference call anyways, so he gets out of that one. And he avoids her for the rest of the day and the evening and the next day as well, so that she doesn't see or question his hands again. He does cave during the next night and comes in the middle of the night to hold her, which she vaguely remembers waking up to, but he was gone when she woke up again. And then he was gone for 3 days on a trip with a group. She's like, what the fuck? When he returns, she calls him out and asks again about his hands from before. And he just tells her he was stopping a man from hurting a woman and leaves it at that. And then they fuck in the storage shed. When men arrive, that Sterling seems very friendly with, he only introduces her as the maintenance person, and that bothers Courtney. She realizes she hasn't even ever been inside his house. She's in too deep and she needs to take a step back. After mostly avoiding him the next day, he's waiting for her by her door when she gets back from the shower, and she tells him that they need to stop and they need to go back to what they should have been, just boss and employee, until she leaves. Because if I didn't say it before, this gig was only supposed to be a 3-month situation. He says, why? She says, because that's what her contract is. That's when her contract's up. And plus, she's never had a fuck buddy before, and she's finding out she's not very good at it. She just can't do casual. He says, why can't she do casual with him? Because he just wants her to say it out loud. She says she's never done it before, but he wants to know the real reason. She says she can't do casual because she doesn't feel casual about him. She can't feel like a secret. She thought she could, but she can't. He walks over to her and scoops her up, tosses her over his shoulder, with her protesting that someone might see them, and he says, good, and then heads to his house. Well, until a couple workers in the driveway clear their throats and then they snicker at them as Sterling heads straight to
I
his
mean,
house.
fair enough.
Yep. And then they stop at the door. He tells her he doesn't want casual either. He wants her there in his house with him. And she just breathes and says, let's just start with tonight. And then they go inside and then they obviously fuck. And the next day, they stride into lunch together holding hands. Cook smiles at them because he knew the whole time and just tells them no making out in the kitchen. The only question the men have is if she switched sides or if they can still shit talk the boss. She assures them they can. Courtney and Sterling spend the next 3 nights at his house, and then Sterling moves all of her shit into his house without even a conversation. Things are going great. Months fly by, and it's now nearing the end of the technical 3-month contract because when he moved her shit in, it was about a full month in. So everything's really vague. I just want to let you know this is how the book was. Everything's really vague from this point on. About when he hikes her over his shoulder, everything just got real vague and just skippy. I'll talk about that later. But
Okay.
he even buys them a dog as a gift for her for the holidays. But when he's out on a trip towards the end of the month with a group, a man shows up looking for him. And Courtney's the one who intercepts the man who says he's the new maintenance person hired by the last guy to start when her 3 months were up. Sterling, who has shit service and was on the phone, upon hearing this, tells her don't do anything rash. He'll be there as fast as he can. Of course, he's 4 hours away, but he's rushing. Courtney, while she is going to wait for him, is not going to do it at his house. So she packs a bag to wait for him in the laundry cabin. But she decides also to just, go to the shower cabin and chill out, take a nice long shower, and wait for him. On her way back from the shower, it's getting dark. And someone's in her path. And at first, she thinks it's just the new maintenance guy. But as she gets closer, she realizes that she recognizes this guy. It used to be an old guest, but he shouldn't be here now. So she's confused. It's the fucking creep who Sterling beat up a long time ago. And the guy says that she ruined his life, so he's going to ruin hers. And he lunges for her. She runs, but he catches her and shoves a knife hard against her throat. The dog is going crazy. Sterling makes it back and finds his gate locked. His gate is never locked. And then once he makes it through, he sees the scene just as a couple of the other guys come from the other way across the driveway. Sterling grabs a shotgun from the back of his truck, but luckily, a bear must have heard all the commotion or whatever. And Courtney realizes that it's the same bear from before, and she just is awed by the mama bear kind of being all protecting. But the creep lunges back, scared from the bear, and shoves Courtney towards the bear,
Just
which gives Sterling the opportunity to shoot the guy in the leg, and the other guys come and take him down. The rest of the guys all come out with a commotion. The original couple that are holding the guy down are, giving extra kicks to the creep on the ground. Sterling had already called in an ambulance when he got back and saw his gate was closed, and he just had a bad feeling. And he's trying not to have Courtney move much because her neck is a bloody mess. Courtney had thanked the bear, and the bear went off. It's a whole scene.
it just yeah, it's a whole scene.
Yeah,
There's
it's wild and weird.
yeah,
There was like things appearing and like it was
you're fine.
so fast
I
moving
just
and it
think
was
it's
weird.
funny.
Yeah. For an over 600-page book, this had almost 200 chapters and so much detail for like 80% of it. To have the last drop off and then have this one scene where things just appeared in people's hands and like things were just all wild. I was just like, my mind was like, where is this all coming from? So, anywho, the next day, when they're back at the house and Courtney's all bandaged up, Sterling takes her for a walk, tells her he loves her, and weirdly asks but not asks, like more tells but not tells that they're going to get married. He basically just says he's going to get her a ring and they're going to be together forever. Long story short, we get an epilogue. Well, actually, two. The first one is just a naughty scene, but the second one is 18 months later. And they have just gotten married and are on their way to their wedding reception. And we learn that Courtney is pregnant. And that's the end of this book. I also want to point out that this book had 197 chapters, not including any of the extra bits like the epilogues and stuff.
That's aggressive.
197 chapters.
Yeah.
So, on that note, I do want to say this book was a fast read because the chapters were so incredibly short. I had a love-hate relationship with it. I liked the short chapters because they were very quick to read. There was an aggressive amount of them, and there was never really much meat in any of the chapters. It was just like
Hmm.
bits of scenes. But I kind of almost liked it because it made for very fast flip through reading. And I'm just not somebody who tends to really like long chapters. I like to just flip through. But it kind of was nice to have, I think the longest chapter was like 3 pages,
Yeah.
maybe. But most chapters were about a page and a half to 2 pages. Some were only one.
And it's nice because sometimes like that, it depends though, because it's nice because it does make you feel like, oh, I'm flying through these. But then when you see the actual count of how many chapters, then it's a little discouraging at the
Yeah,
same time. So yeah, I
it,
get it.
it was a love-hate thing.
Yeah.
But I also want to point out that this book was so big and so much happened in the beginning and the middle. And I felt like we just got to a point towards the end where it was like, oh, we have to wrap this up now.
Yeah.
Because where so much of it had so much detail and so much stuff and so much that was just dragged out with the day to day, then all of a sudden 2 months flew by and we had this random scene that had no detail in it, and all of a sudden someone had a shotgun in their hand from nowhere. Like I just assumed it came from his truck. I just gave you that information. We got nothing in the book.
Hmm.
But you know what I mean? It was just all of a sudden he was there with a shotgun.
Yeah, it's honestly it's similar to the complaint I've had about like a lot of the books and everything. A good amount of them will be so drawn out and nice because you're getting all those details, you're getting all that other stuff right at the beginning, but then it feels like the ending is always so fucking rushed, and I don't understand it. And obviously, like I'm not a writer. I understand that. I don't write books. But I feel like
I think it's
so many of them, when it's
I
so
think it depends
long,
on writing style. Like I think if it
we've hit a lot of them lately though, where
yeah,
it's so rushed at the end and you're like, but you
but I think
dragged it
it
out so much
depends.
in the beginning,
Yeah.
but now
But
you're feeling like shit, I gotta wrap it up.
so I think it depends because if people map out the whole storyboard, there aren't it isn't as rushed. Like if you have
Right. That
beginning,
I'm
a
not
middle,
I
and an end,
well, I'm just
I
saying we've had a lot lately where
yes.
it's
Oh,
feeling
absolutely.
like where
But
it's
I think
so
it's the
built out
people
and
who
then
just start writing at the beginning and
yeah.
then just go. I think, but and that might be wrong. I don't know, but I that's how it feels.
Yeah. Yeah, it just feels like we've been hitting a lot of those lately where it's
Yeah.
like it's so nice and it's so good because the story is there, but then all of a sudden it's over and you're like, how what? Like
Yeah,
the
because
pacing is so
I was
different.
enjoying this book for the most part for a good 75% of it. And then I was like, except for the
Yeah.
draggy, but then I was like, what the fuck just happened? I need
Yeah.
it to, all the energy to match.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's my problem.
Yeah. Well, so who is your favorite character?
I'm gonna say Cook.
Yeah.
He went out of his way to feed Courtney all the time and make sure she had extra shit. And he knew what was going on with everybody and all kinds of stuff. I, weirdly enough, I might say the bar and inn owner if I knew more about him. I was intrigued
Mhm.
to know more about him.
Yeah,
I wonder if he is in a different story.
possibly. I mean, this is a series, so it's entirely possible.
Right.
I agree. Yeah, because it's interesting when we don't pick main characters to like, but we do that a lot because I
Yeah.
didn't like how they behaved, and I guess that's my problem.
Yeah.
Who
It's
was your
not that I least favorited them.
No,
It's
no,
just,
no,
yeah.
no. They just weren't.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, oh my God, you're a woman. Bitch, shut the fuck up. Who's your least favorite
The
character?
next book is not about the bar dude. I don't know who it is. Maybe it's just, maybe they're not connected.
Kendra and Luther, and then book three doesn't have any information.
Yeah. Maybe they're not connected.
I don't know.
Hmm.
Um,
My favorite character.
Least favorite. We already
Oh,
did
sorry, excuse
favorite.
me. Least favorite, aside from like the creep and all that shit.
I mean, I was just gonna pick him because duh.
Yeah, that was wild. But also like her mom.
Yeah, I don't like a lot of families.
Yeah. Yeah.
Alrighty, so Amazon gives us a 4.4 and Goodreads a 4.2.
I'm curious where you stand on this. I had trouble.
I am sitting at like a 3.
Okay.
Um, it's the love-hate relationship thing with the chapter things.
Yeah.
And it is the pacing that was such a problem.
Yeah.
And it's just,
I think I'm
maybe I
leaning more
wasn't
towards a
feeling it
three and a
as
half.
much.
That's okay. I think I'm leaning towards a three and a half, but that was my problem. I couldn't figure out where I was landing.
Yeah.
So maybe that is indicative of itself that I felt like it could have been a lot higher if it
Yeah.
wasn't for the whole ending.
Yeah. Honestly, if it hadn't been for the ending, it probably would have bumped up to a 3.5 for me. I don't know. Maybe I wasn't in a mountainy mood.
Yeah, I didn't have a problem necessarily with the yeah, most of it, and I kind of liked most of the fast chapters, but I
Yeah.
don't know. I'm gonna say 3.5.
There you go. Okay.
3.5. I liked the whole concept of the the whole ranch thing,
I
but
really
I'm
like
gonna
the
say
cover.
3.5 with using 3 stars to, you know what I mean, on the lower end of 3.5.
Yeah. Sorry, I'm like,
Yeah, the
let's
cover's
see
nice.
this. Yeah, he looks good.
Looks good. Alright. Da, 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 da. Peppers.
Peppers. Um, I never have them. Oh wait, do I actually have them pulled up today? Of course not. Why would I?
Um,
One day I'll actually have the scale pulled up and like in front of my eyeballs.
jalapeno for me.
Yeah.
It's on the new wheel sheet.
Yeah, for some reason that one's not pulled up and I pull it up and exit out all the time for some stupid
I
reason.
always keep it open in a tab.
I'll go with a jalapeno too.
Okay.
Nailed it. Cool.
I
We
would
have to
also
spin a
survive.
wheel. Oh yeah, I would also survive. Am I surviving now? Quite barely, but that's okay. 'Cause I'm existing and I'm alive. Not in my current life. My current life, it's
Yeah,
iffy.
that's the
But
current life does not count.
you know what's not iffy? Spinning the wheel. Actually, it might be because who the fuck knows what it's gonna give us.
Who knows what it's going to give us?
The next episode that we record, I might actually not be sitting in front of a blank wall looking like I'm fucking being kidnapped,
You
okay?
might. It's tomorrow. I'm just
I'm about
kidding.
to rent a truck
I know.
to get my ass out of here.
So
Anyways, let me bring up the wheel and let's see what we got for the next time. All right, let's spin this wheel, bitch. All right, so we got
that is not a mountain man. Maybe.
Masked by the Wild Orc. I don't know why it says Ord because I can't spell.
Well, this is the tattoo shop one.
Yes. So, Ariel's
Masked
gonna
by
read it for you.
Marked by the Wild Orc by Michelle Mills. I'm broke and I need a job fast. The best tattoo artist in the Pacific Northwest is hiring a manager for his tattoo shop. So I don't have any experience. A few lies on my resume can fix that. Anyway, how hard can it be? I get the job and quickly find out that running a tattoo shop is very hard, especially dealing with my new wild brooding boss. He's an orc with a fiery temper. He's not all bad, though, with a deep love for his three black cats, but for me, not so much. We fight on a daily basis, usually while I'm taking care of the cats, but it's not long before this huge, hard-working orc with a purring cat snuggled in his hulking green arms instantly softens my attitude. He starts grabbing all my attention. Those tusks really do it for me, and I can't seem to take my eyes off them, but it would never work. He's much too old for me, way too grumpy. He fires me twice, claiming it's too dangerous to keep me by his side because orcs claim their brides in the dark of winter, whatever that means. I find out, though, on the first snowfall when he marks me with his name in a place I'll leave to your imagination. As the snow falls, so do I, deeper and deeper into the arms of this hot wild orc. Yeah, so it's a shorty.
Yeah.
Join us next week for this monster romance that is in the same regional era as our last book, but not a mountain man. We'll save that for our specials. Either way, make sure to keep reading.
And keep it smutty.
Straight from the basically shirt half open. A very. Are you done? I'll wait.
Let's go on, I
can't. Courtney gets out of her. So she's very confused. Confused. What is confused? Why? What is going on with today? Against the laundry cabinet. Against the laundry cabin wall. The laundry cabinet. What is going on? I wish I could show you what my thing is showing. It's not showing me anything. I typed in author and the name.
Same, mine's also not. Does the book not exist anymore? Marked by the orc?
Yep.
That's it. So,
we were putting in masked.
It's marked by the orc. You're welcome. We're still a hot mess. Congratulations. Us trying to look it up, we're dumb.
Oh, fuck.
Oh, fuck.